Hey everybody, it's Joseph Rudy Rulo, and like always, I just want to thank everyone for your likes and your shares and your support. And you're just the wonderful people that this God of ours has brought onto this earth. And I feel so not only obligated, but so privileged to be able to reach out to so many. And, you may ask, how could you put yourself out there? And that's, what I'm going to talk about today is when I have a bad day, a really, really bad day. And I know so many of you out there, and there's so many people that, suffer from different things, depression, anxiety, um, you know, there's all sorts of different things, right? There's this one thing where your whole body hurts and you're diagnosed. I forgot what the name of it is, but everybody thinks that they're crazy when they have this. But um, what I have is PTSD, and encompassed in that, you have, release of adrenaline and cortisol, and you can be basically triggered for a fight and flight, and then you're kind of anxiety at that point. And then the other end of the spectrum is depression. But the reason I brought this video out today is to show you, look at the last 3 days. Go on my videos. Yesterday I went to, or Saturday I went to Great Adventure. Um, Sunday I think I went live. Yeah, I did one of my best shows ever. Bible talk, and talked about January 6th. And then Monday we were hanging out at Island Beach State Park, and all of my other duties, my social media consulting, political consulting, and I did an audition or two, and I actually got one of them. Majorly, I had a bad week, really, really bad 2 weeks, and to the point where it becomes, if there was a number between 0 and 10, and 10 was unbearable to where you just don't want to deal with it anymore, I function sometimes at like 100. But I'm not mean to myself, sometimes, when I don't acknowledge it, when I'm not kind, when I'm not praising myself for, just the littlest things. And I tell everyone, how do you do it? You start in the morning, and you start with single tasks. You start in the morning. If you floss your teeth or brush your teeth, just start with that. That's all you could do. Just lay back in bed again. And then the next thing you do it again and get up and do it, right? If you do nothing, right, nothing's going to happen. And, some people are very, very clinically depressed, and that's very difficult. But like, I do this without medication. I don't take any medication. And, and I'm not saying that medication is bad at all. I wake up and I do calisthenics, right? I do stretches, my neck, my back, my legs, everything. Then I do twists like this for my abs standing up, and then I do it sitting down, and then I do side like this for my lats and or my obliques and my side. And that gets my heart going. And I do it every morning, right? And I basically have a shake in the morning, and the shake is almond milk, blueberries, cinnamon, but blueberries are really important, and protein, because sometimes in the morning my stomach is just not ready to eat because you're stressed out. But you get that in you, right? And then I have Activia because I'm 52, so I want to stay regular. But the point is, by the time I do my single task, and the other thing really, really important, on most days, and it's a great day when you do this, is remember God, and Jesus Christ, and remember and thank him that you're alive and everyone around you is alive. Because with my PTSD, with death, I'm always focused on the negative and thinking about everyone, who died, and, all the people around me. Oh, trauma's going to happen. So on two first aid squads in a fire department, I saw things that were crazy. But the funny part about it is I didn't see it. Some of the worst things were when I was just driving my car and I stopped to help people. And I do it all the time. And there were a few times that I stopped that it was just like rolling a dice. You're going to eventually run into things that you just can't believe you saw that will traumatize you. And some of the deaths that I've had with personal people, like in family and friends and things like that, suicides, where I was traumatized by it. And, I have a fully I said before, between 0 and 10, 10 being unbearable, I feel sometimes I'm at 100, meaning I'm way past. Okay. And that's not being kind to yourself sometimes, but you can't just lay in bed and just give up, right? And nobody would ever know it. Ask my opponents when I ran for governor in 2017. They would have never known that my grandfather died, right? But I was in unbearable pain. Look at my mom passed July 19th. It's coming up. Mother's Day was unbearable. You would never know it. I did a Mother's Day show because I get out of my own head and I help others. But listen, I'm not going to make it sound like it's easy. And that's why I want to come on now, because I had a really rough couple of weeks. And for me to go on right now feeling like this, right, shows you that you can do it. You can do it too. You start by living in the moment and make sure that you pray a lot. Those shows that I do on Sunday are really, really good. If you're really depressed and have anxiety, you should really go to every Sunday for the last 4 or 5 weeks and then keep going backwards. Most of those shows, not most, but some of them, some of them, like I was really depressed on Mother's Day. That's a great one. Then I think the week before that I had food poisoning, and I'm still doing these shows, but they're guided by the Bible. That's what I read out of, but also adding to it, to help people grow mentally, so that they have their, so that they can cope. And the example is myself. Most people would say, "Oh, he's full of it," if they knew me, because I'm really, like injured animals. You don't know that they're injured. They never show you that they are. Well, I'm an actor, so try seeing me in public and trying to figure out if I'm depressed. That's what's really scary. If something ever happened to me, people would be shocked. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, she was depressed." They'd be shocked. Like Robin Williams. Okay. 0 to 10. 10 being the worst possible unbearable pain that you can have. I've been at 100. And I will tell you, this morning, it felt like 100. And getting through the day productively, like I do on most days, and looking back on it is like laughing right in the devil's face and saying, "You know what? I had God." You know what I did? I go to church a lot, sometimes every day. But today, I needed to stay and rest a little bit. So I rested for a couple hours this morning. I kind of don't usually, I had a lot to do when I woke up, a lot of, business that I had to take care of, calls I had to make, different things that I do for my businesses, some audition stuff that I had to finish up. And then I took a couple hours. But then after that, I felt some energy. And that's the other thing too, have energy. You got it So anyway, that's what I did, is I got a lot of energy and I went to church. And I don't necessarily flourish from a church full of people. I flourish when I'm in that church by myself. I have my service dog and I'm alone at the cross with Jesus. And I pray and I look at the Bible and I read it. And that's where it just really comes in. And that's one thing. That's just spiritual, right? Then there's mental, where I'm focused on the moment and I'm, doing affirmations and, comparing myself only with where I was before, not with others. And, not being jealous of people and forgiving people that you're really mad at and people who abandon and hurt you on a daily basis, like it says to do in Luke 6. And, but some real quick tricks. One, you have to sleep as much as you can, up to 8 hours. You can't be sleeping 3 or 4 hours and wonder why you're depressed. You can't function. Your brain is a muscle. If you don't rest your muscles and you're running around all day, you're not going to be able to walk. You're going to start hurting things, spraining things. Same thing with your brain. And then the other thing is eating. You have to eat brain-rich foods, salmon, blueberries, avocados, if you can tolerate them, any kind of berries. Walnuts are great if you can tolerate them. And salmon is great, like I said, and making sure you have your protein on a daily basis, not eating everything that's processed. Try to eat like real fruits and vegetables. That's how you heal your body. That's how you move forward from whatever you have, depression, anxiety, or bipolar, whatever you have, right? PTSD right? If you think about it, it puts you in a position where it gives you enormous amounts of energy because that's what it was used for. Our body thinks it's being chased by a dinosaur, right? That was an old mechanism used. But when that energy ends, right, it's almost like you're up here, you plummet down. And depending on how long that energy can be, and when my mom was dying, it was like for months. And it just went away when she passed after a couple months after that. And it just went, and you're just stuck with no cortisol and no adrenaline. And you're just like, you're not Superman anymore. And that has been very challenging. And that does not turn on very often. In fact, ask my opponents and people I ran against, even when I'm on, people, how can you be an actor? How can you be on HBO on a set with like all these people and you're in a movie? Because it's not real and it's familiar and I do it all the time. How could you, debate when you're running for governor? How could you be in a crowd and speak to thousands of people like I did in Seaside on top of the beachcomber? Thousands of people, 3,000 or 4,000 people. And how can you do that? It's familiar, right? So, but to go to a funeral, I don't go to them all the time, is not familiar. And it triggers my PTSD. So I went to Father Mick's funeral and I was okay, right? So I kind of exposed myself to, I desensitized myself to that trigger. And that's what you have to do slowly and over time. But I just wanted to out there say to you, if you are really, really struggling, right, you can instant message me anytime you want. I have a documentary that I did for someone, and I haven't put it out public yet, and I'm going to soon. And it talks about some of the struggles that I had in depth, some things that are very personal. And if you are in a position where you're extremely depressed, you don't think you can get out of it, and you're very intrigued by someone who, you've been following so long, I inspire you, you look up to me, wow, he's an actor, wow, he ran for office, and you say, wow, he has the same thing I have, but he's like actually living his life. I can send you a link. I know it sounds weird, I could send you a link, but I'm not going to broadcast it at this point yet. I just decided not to. We're cleaning it up and figuring out how I want to put it out. But I think a lot of people out there, between the recession, the gas prices, and the whole entire thing with the pandemic, people are struggling. And I want you to know, and they have depression, anxiety, mental disorders, mental illness. And, there's times, that I'm challenged, and things are a lot harder for me than it would be for your average person who's not being affected, by this humongous cloud. And like I said, between 0 and 10, if you were to ask me between 0 and 10, how do you, the 10 being, a feeling that you can't, it's unbearable, right? I function at 100, and it just, sometimes it's not cool to do that to yourself. But in my case, I was Job at one point, where I was, in 2010, let's say, I have 2,000 fold, where I was, and everything God has given me so much more than I could ever imagine. And, you have ups and you have downs, and, without the bitter, there's not going to be any sweet. And, every day can't be perfect, but, think about, I had a bad day today, and it turned out to be really awesome. Meaning, I got a lot of that chemical out of me, that horrible feeling that you get. It's a chemical that's released with PTSD. It is. And when you get that cortisol and that adrenaline and then you bottom out, it's the opposite. You have a deficit and it causes all sorts of deficiencies in other hormones, and the serotonin and the feel-good chemicals are all gone, right? Here I'm having a day like that and I'm sharing it to say that, you can wake up, look it in the eyes, right? And that's the devil. That's what it is. The devil's trying to stop you from your future, from your, you have to pray every single day for God to give you, the grace, to give you patience, not only patience, but faith. Patience and faith. Every single day, ask God to give you that grace so that you make it to the next day to reach your destiny and your goals. But most importantly, keeping God in your heart, Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. But keeping yourself not only physically active, walk every day, but also make sure you eat the right foods, like I said before, and be spiritual, stretching, and you know what? Laugh as much as you possibly can and watch funny things. So I just wanted, to do that. And you know what? Instead of my head being in my own head and saying, oh, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit better, but I still don't feel that great right now. I'll just go do something selfish to, gratify myself and be, happy. I said, I want to share it with people when I'm a little raw, when it feels like obviously if I did it this morning, you guys would be like, damn. I mean, I was like really down. And what's funny is that, I still function, and I can, just like if someone has a couple beers or somebody's smoking a joint or something, they're in a different frame of mind. They're in an altered state. Well, when you have an illness, that is being clouded by depression and anxiety, those are chemicals that are real and they're being released in your blood. And if you have real life situations coming and you focus on them, even though you're depressed and have anxiety, but you're able to control it and cope with it, it will eventually balance out and you can actually become more desensitized to it and it can happen less. But remember one thing too, like one of the keys with anxiety, and this is the truth of panic attacks, is just say in your mind the top 10 things that you're grateful for. It's impossible to feel anxiety and to feel panic if you start talking about the 10 things you're grateful for. Well, I'm not grateful for anything. Well, you're breathing. Your mother and father, or one of them are alive, let's say. Just think about if they weren't, right? 10 things. You can name them. Your cat's alive. Your dog's alive. You ate. You have food. You have a favorite couch. You love your backyard. It just becomes addictive. And if you just do it every single day, I do it on my phone sometimes. And it's not 10, it's hundreds of things. I get overwhelmed. There's so many things. But like when I'm thinking negatively, they call it stinking thinking. I'm thinking about all the things that can happen that are bad. They say Murphy's Law is if it's going to happen bad, it's going to happen to me. No, Murphy's Law says if it's going to happen to you, if it's good and it can happen to you. Instead of thinking like Murphy's Law that something's going to happen bad, it's going to happen to you. Think of all the good things, hitting the lottery, becoming, like me, an actor, in the Screen Actors Guild and getting eligible for that, Hollywood in New York, running for governor or, owning your own business successfully and having no debt, and it actually makes a profit. These are things that you can do. And, it's not something that only happens to certain people. It's, and I have to understand there's other things that I want to do, and I have to every day struggle with patience, and I have to have patience and I have to have faith. And the big thing is, we as Christians, we walk blindly in faith. If you don't walk blindly in faith, then you're going to be very scared and you're going to be very panicky and you're going to have a lot of mental dis-ease, not disease, dis-ease. Because any disease is a dis-ease of something, right? That turns into a disease. And that's the truth. So I hope this really helps some people out there. And I do this all the time. And really on my Sunday shows, a lot of times, I'll be talking about, anxiety in the Bible. And I'll have all the quotes from the Bible for anxiety or faith or being content was another one that we did in Bible Talk. A lot of those things are things that I'm challenged with, like you. So that's why I bring it up. So if you like this kind of stuff, you can go to Sunday this week. And it's the only thing I do in video in the morning. It's every Sunday. And it's between like 9 o'clock in the morning and 10:30, 11 o'clock. You'll see it. It's the first video on a Sunday. It'll take a little bit of homework where you can go into my videos. But like the easiest thing is go through the timeline. You'll see Sunday and you watch the video. And it's about, the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes is about, January 6th. One was about the congressional primaries coming up. But then it's about 10 minutes of that, 15. And I go into Bible Talk for about an hour. And it's a very focused message. And, the message that I had this weekend was really, really awesome. And if you are interested in it, I'm not even going to tell you what it's about. You should go look at it, because it was actually about Father's Day. You know, it's to make people feel better. I lost my father in 2008, and it started getting a little bit easier a couple years ago, but it took that long. And I had to do a show on Father's Day like I did Mother's Day, because that's when I do my shows on Sunday. And, you know, I like, you know, having a, you know, what's the word I use, Trish? Ministry on a Sunday. That's what I do for God. I show my love and my reverence to God, you know, because of all the followers. 500,000. You know, I've had congressmen tell me, and other people, the congressman people tell, you know, I'm talking about more than one congressman said this. I can't believe how many followers he has, right? It's amazing. It's because people out there, you know, you have love, you have heart, you have loyalty, and you love this country, you love God. And these are a lot of the things that we have in common, but also you love waterfalls and aquariums and zoos, and just to check out all the travel and all the cool things I do, hiking and everything else that I bring you. So anyway, I hope everyone out there, you know, finds this video well, and I really hope that even one person, that's all it takes, somebody who's just like, you know, I give up. I don't think I could do this, and realize like, wow, I'm not the only one that struggles every single day. No, you're not. And you got to wake up in the morning and look that ugliness in the face, that depression or that anxiety or that PTSD, and say, you're not going to win today, you know, because I'm not going to quit. I'm going to persevere, right? I'm going to be persistent, and I'm going to be consistent every day. I'm going to write things down. I'm not going to forget that every day I got to, you know, make sure I'm physically active and walk, that I have to eat the right foods or else I'm going to not nourish my brain, which is the main problem of why many people have depression and anxiety, and lack of sleep, which are the main things. You know, people are on medications for anxiety and depression, but they don't go to bed, and then they eat like shit. And then at the same time, they're not spiritual, and they're just wired out, and they don't meditate, right? And they don't walk. So I do this for one reason, because I, you know, love others like I love myself. And that's why I'm doing this, period. And, you know, I'm working on loving my enemies in Luke 6. Those who used me, continually still hate me, right? Those who have done nothing for me, doing something for them anyway, you know, or someone who's never given me anything, just give them something anyway. And someone who takes from me and doesn't do anything in return, not caring about that. And if they ask for something else, do it, but within reason. You can absolutely, obviously, if it says do something for someone that asks, you know, you have every right to cut people off that are just completely taking. And that's the other thing too, is, you know, don't be around people if you have a problem with drugs and alcohol. You got to cut them off. So you're going to be alone for a while. Be around people that don't. I can go on and on and on. But anyway, anyone out there that ever struggles or whatever is having a rough time, you could always message me too. And share this with someone if they're having a problem. This message could really help them. But, you know, like I said, every Sunday we got this show, Bible Talk, and you can watch this type of really positive stuff, but with intense Bible verses to back it. Last Sunday, the Sunday before, all the way to Mother's Day, and way before that, like a year. God bless you. God bless America. And I feel better, even better than I felt before, doing stuff for others, you know, when I'm not feeling that great today. And you can't tell. I'm a great actor. You know, I've done thousands and thousands of videos. And, you know, all I would have to do is, you know, I took a shower and I'm all whatever. But like if I, let's say, didn't take a shower and, you know, my hair was all messed up and, you know, I was like unkept, you know, and I was kind of slower than I am now, you'd say, wow, he is depressed, you know. But, you know, I dressed up a little bit for this, you know, my tank top, because it's freaking hot out here. It is what it is. So God bless everyone. And make sure you continue to share and like and get out the message. I really appreciate everything that you all do. And God bless.